So we just received some very big news in the metal community, and that is the group Pantera is going to launch a reunion tour with the two surviving members. They are Phil Anselmo and Rex Brown. So the two deceased members will be replaced by Zakk Wylde on guitar and Charlie Benante on drums. This has caused an uproar in the metal community due to many factors, and I'll be talking about that throughout this video. Many people are saying this is a cash grab, and then Phil Anselmo just wants to make some extra money just using the Pantera name. Let's talk all about that, and I'll give you my final thoughts on the end. So let's talk about the history of the band Pantera first, and what led to this emotional response from the metal community. So the band started in the early 80s by two brothers. They were Vinnie Paul and Dimebag Darrell. They're also called the Abbott brothers. And they're also the two deceased members of the band. So right off the bat, a lot of people think that since they're no longer with us, or half of the band is dead, they are the founding members of the band, and that's why we shouldn't resurrect the band. Now the band started as a glam band. They used to call him Glamterra. The original vocalist, his name was Terry Glaze. He was replaced by Phil Anselmo in 1987, and the first album with Anselmo was Power Metal from 1988. Now, Rex Brown joined the band a few years after they started. He was with them for a long time. He's not a founding member, but he's been a very long-standing bass player, and pretty much up until the band called it quits. So, really, I don't think anybody has a problem with Rex Brown. It's mostly Phil Anselmo, and I'll be talking about that into more detail. So, in 1990, the band released Cowboys from Hell. And they had this new groove metal style. The band basically reinvented themselves, and they became one of the biggest metal bands at that time. Very surprising because a lot of people thought that grunge music killed metal in the early 90s, but actually no. Pantera was the one band that survived. They were very mainstream and very heavy. They did not have a commercial sound, but it was just very heavy music. But still, they were the biggest metal band in the 90s, maybe after Metallica. So, for example, the album Far Beyond Driven premiered at #1 on the Billboard 200s. And a lot of people say that that's the heaviest album to ever hold that #1 spot. So let's talk more about Phil Anselmo. When he was in this band, they were the biggest metal band in the world. And Phil Anselmo, he kind of took it for granted, I guess you could say. He's doing his own thing. He's doing some side projects. He has bands like Down and Superjoint Ritual. And because of all this, he wasn't really currently invested in the band. They broke up. And it kind of got to the point where Vinny and Dime didn't want anything to do with Phil. So after the band broke up, Vinny and Dime kind of created this new band called Damageplan. They released one album. And one night in 2004, during a live performance, a man walks on stage and he murders Dimebag Darrell and a couple other people. He kind of walked up on stage with a gun and shot a few people. A very sad day in the metal community. Dime was one of the most beloved guitarists in that genre. And before his death, people asked if Pantera would ever get back together, and Dimebag was against the idea. Now let's fast forward a couple years. It's 2018. Vinnie Paul dies of a coronary artery disease. And even before his death, he had been asked a number of times if Pantera would ever reunite, and he always said no. He said that it's something that should be left in the past. He also didn't really want to work with Phil again. So I think the big issue people have with Pantera reuniting is that the two deceased members, also the two founding members, really didn't want it. Basically, at this point in the story, because Phil Anselmo didn't want to be in Pantera when things were good, and now that his career is kind of not what it used to be, he wants to bring it back. So people are saying that he just wants to use the Pantera name and capitalize it, and just just make money using the Pantera name. So, but he kind of has been doing that. He has a band called Phil Anselmo and the Illegals. And they have been doing these Pantera tribute shows, and I guess they haven't been really as big as he expected them to be. So now he wants to resurrect Pantera and thinks it will be a big success. Now, what do I think? First of all, I think Phil should make some kind of public statement addressing his past relationship with the Abbott brothers. He should make sure A substantial amount of the profit goes directly to Vinny and Dime's estate. And the tour should actually kind of be rebranded as a tour being in the memory of Vinny and Dime. This will make it very clear at every show that they play that, you know, they're doing this in the memory of Vinny and Dime. After that, I think they can kind of get past all this and maybe, you know, people can really enjoy Pantera live again. And I think in the end, it would be a good thing, you know, being that Pantera was a very big band. This in turn will help other metal bands get more exposure. We'll of course have other bands open for them, and that will help expose those bands. And this will be a tour that sells out every night, and I think it would be cool to go see him. I've never seen Pantera live. I think like my idea is that they go ahead with the reunion, they play the concerts, and they just do it for the benefit for the heirs to the estate of Vinny and Dime. So I have a few other Pantera videos that I did, and I'll link them right there. So please remember, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.